Armed with only one word, Tenet, and fighting for the survival of the entire world, a protagonist journeys through a twilight of international espionage on a mission that will unfold in something beyond real time. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. Elliot back again with a brand new movie review for the film Tenet. Yes, I've seen it. Very excited to let you all know what I thought about it in this non-spoiler review. Before we even dive into the details, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. That way you can stay up to date with what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you are new to Movie Files, welcome. Definitely subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comments below, if you've seen this film Tenet, let's discuss it, your pros, your cons, everything in between. If you haven't seen it, let's still have a discussion. Are you excited for this film? Let me know some of your favorite and least favorite Christopher Nolan films. Let's just have an open discussion in the comments below. So before I even get into my pros, my cons, my overall thoughts, and my score, I'm going to put a little timestamp so you know when the actual review starts. But I want to let those at home know, how did I see this film? How was the movie-going experience? So first and foremost, if you've been watching a lot of my streams on this channel, as well as other streams on various other content creators that I've been on, I don't feel comfortable going to the theater anytime soon. So lucky for me, there is a drive-in theater about 30 minutes away from my house. Long story short, I was kind of nervous because I haven't been to a drive-in in about 15 plus years. So I was just like, I hope this is a good experience. Nevertheless, I go to the box office. They don't take credit cards. I had to go to Schnucks, which is a grocery store out here in St. Louis. I had to wait in line to get cash. There's like 2 minutes before the movie starts. I have to find a parking spot because they have like these designated spots, like session off with like poles, so I didn't want to hit a pole because you can't have your lights on. So that was an action movie within itself. But I found a good spot. You know, I see the Dune teaser, which was great. Can't wait for Dune. Super excited for that. You know, watching the film, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm watching a film for the first time in March and seeing Bloodshot and seeing The Hunt. 15 minutes of the film, it's pouring rain. Mind you, I look at the weather the day before, the hour before, clear skies, and then just rains out of nowhere. But luckily, it was only for like 5 minutes. It rained pretty bad, but I can hear everything perfectly clear. It wasn't that bad. But overall, going to a drive-in was pretty entertaining. It was good to see a film on a big screen for the first time since March. And also, from an audio perspective, last time I went to a drive-in, you had to have like this radio box outside of your car to hear it. This time around, and they may have been doing this for years, but all you do is go to a radio station. I have a new car, so the audio system, it isn't a Bose Adobe surround sound, but it was a really good audio experience. And plus, the bonus was I heard some people complain that they couldn't hear the audio that well when they went to the theater due to sound mixing and just being overwhelming. But luckily for me, I can adjust the audio, and also they had subtitles, so that was really good. I can hear and read everything on the screen. So good experience. Nonetheless, very excited to see maybe more movies in a drive-in, whether it be Wonder Woman, Candyman, or Dune, but overall, good experience. So now let's get into the actual movie review, starting off with the positives. I think there's no way to start this off without talking about the man himself, Christopher Nolan. So it just so happened, and this wasn't like in preparation for the release of Tenet, but just about a month ago, I happened to rewatch Insomnia for the first time in quite a long time. Also Tenet, because I just wanted to kind of see, okay, let's see his beginnings, which I know Following and Memento was his first films, but I just wanted to kind of see Insomnia because I haven't seen it in a while, but also watch Dunkirk. And it was just so interesting to see those two films recently and going into Tenet, seeing all those different things that you see in Christopher Nolan films, whether it be his progression through the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar, and Dunkirk, seeing all those things implemented in this film was just an art. It was just so beautiful to watch. This man is the only director, I'll say it, only director that can sell a movie off of his name and his original ideas. There's no other director that can bring this type of story to a studio and say, hey, I want to make it. And I want to make it with $200+ million. You know, Martin Scorsese can't do it anymore. Quentin Tarantino, Steven Spielberg, some of the greatest of our times can't even go to get a film made because they don't believe in their IPs and they don't think it would sell as a Christopher Nolan film. And that even speaks for my favorite director, Denis Villeneuve, So, I mean, he is the only one that can do that, and he does it well, guys. I have to say, my favorite Christopher Nolan film, by the way, is Interstellar, and I love all his films of that matter, but Interstellar is my favorite. But this is one of his most, like, in a sense of scope and scale and complexity of the story, this was very impressive. The direction of this film was just incredible, to say the least. Transitioning to the story here a bit without getting into the details, because again, spoiler-free thoughts, but This is a very complex story. This is a story that has the scope and scale of this film. It feels like a Bond film. This is a straight up heist spy film with some dramatic thriller aspects. I thought that this film definitely highlights the strengths of Christopher Nolan. And this is a thrill ride. This is probably the most, just thinking about all the films that I've seen of Christopher Nolan, the only one I haven't seen is Following. This is probably the most thrilling film that I can think of from Christopher Nolan. This is a straight up thrill ride in the sense of he puts his foot on the pedal at a particular part in this film and just keeps on going. You're just trucking along, and this film is just, again, it's fun, it's entertaining, it has stakes, it has the complex nature of the story, this idea, how they're using time and inversion and explaining the inversion concept and certain paradoxes and certain ideas about, free will, and just a lot of heady stuff that I just love when it comes to that conversation, those aspects of like sci-fi and things of that nature. So I thought the story was incredible, and I have to say, I was kind of prepped for this time element and this kind of time being implemented in the story, because I recently watched Dark on Netflix about 4 months ago. I watched season 1, 2, and 3 within a week span. So I would say I was pretty prepped to handle this, because if you guys haven't seen Dark on Netflix, one of the most complex shows or stories you'll ever see. So I was lucky enough to have seen 3 seasons of Dark, and it kind of prepped me for this inversion and explaining time within this film. So definitely a kudos to myself watching that show on Netflix, because it prepared me for what I got into with this film here. But again, I thought it was a nonstop action thrill ride when it comes to Tenet here. But in regards to the performances, starting off with the lead of this film, John David Washington, it is just incredible seeing him from Black Klansmen to Monsters and Man to where he is now. The protagonist in this film, I'll just call him John for his first name, because he is literally called the protagonist in this movie. But I thought that he had such charisma, such just the screen presence. He felt like a James Bond-ish type of character, and you were really, at least for me, I was really rooting for him to complete this mission, and you felt for this character in a sense of him wanting to, save the world, and you were just on this ride with John David Washington. I thought his performance was just incredible through and through. Robert Pattinson, man, I've been saying it for a while now. I'm not one of those people that's only seen Twilight films. I've seen all of his movies pretty much since the Twilight days, and I am a big fan of Robert Pattinson and him as the supporting character Neil. I thought going back to James Bond, this was like having James Bond's right-hand man with him, and just, he's such a fun character. And I know some people said this was like the least funniest Nolan film. I found this film to be very charming and very funny at times, especially from the Neil character. And again, their chemistry, John David Washington as the protagonist and Neil, was really, really interesting. I felt the camaraderie between the two. I felt the chemistry between the two. I thought that the Neil character, to say the least, was incredible. It was very integral to the story. Elizabeth Debicki, big fan of her. She is literally, to me, the heart and soul of this film. She's the most tangible character for the audience to kind of gravitate towards in this complex story. As Kat, this estranged wife who has the emotional, gripping aspect of the story, her and her son, and her relationship with Kenneth Branagh's character. But I thought that Elizabeth did a great job. And again, she's the heart and soul of this particular film. Kenneth Branagh as the menacing, possessive, selfish character was incredible, guys. I think he might have been like my favorite character in the sense of the performance we get from him. And again, menacing, selfish, possessive. He just gives you everything in this role. And this role kind of makes up for Kenneth Branagh's Artemis Fowl earlier this year. I still can't believe that film was made, but Kenneth Branagh, we all know he's a great director, but he's also a fantastic actor, and he really shows you his acting chops in this role. And there's a lot of other great characters, supporting characters like Piera Pion, I believe her name was. If I'm mistaken that, I'll leave it in the description, but I thought she was great, and just everyone that was involved in this movie as far as the acting was really solid across the board. I'll be remiss to not mention, again, I mentioned how this is a well-crafted movie, but there are some other players involved that made the crafting of this film come to be, starting off with the music and the score of this film. Ludwig Göransson, man, this guy is just such an incredible composer. From his early days for doing the Creed score, Creed 2, obviously the Oscar-winning Black Panther score, and composing that, R.I.P. to Chadwick Boseman, and then more recently with The Mandalorian. This guy is so incredible. That score, I'm still hearing it in my head. Like I see the scene in my head. There's some really memorable scenes within this film, but then as soon as I see the scene, I hear the score, and I've actually downloaded the score and the Travis Scott song, The Plan. The score is so integral to this film. it brings the film life. It has this tempo, this techno beat to it, kind of reminded me a little bit of some Interstellar kind of Inception vibes, but just in its own mix. And Ludwig is just such a great composer, and he is just phenomenal in composing this film. And again, that soundtrack is incredible, and it's a character within itself, and it really kind of pushes the heart and the blood into this film. It brings the film to life, to say the least. And you have the cinematographer Hoyte van Hoytema, who, you know, is one of the best cinematographers in the business. I think of the first time I was exposed to Let the Right Ones In 2008. I think of her, Interstellar, obviously. He also did Spectre, he did Dunkirk, and then most recently he did Ad Astra. This guy has such an eye for cinematography and really kind of embraces the scope and scale of Christopher Nolan. I thought he did such a great job of bringing this film to life. Transitioning here to some of my criticism with the film, I will say the first hour, again, even though I've seen Dark, and luckily Dark was 3 seasons, 20 plus hours, 20 plus episodes to kind of really grasp into this concept of time travel and understanding time and free will and paradoxes. But in this film, you know, it's a two and a half plus hours of explaining this inversion and explaining their elements of time and objects and paradoxes, things of that nature. So I think Christopher Nolan did a good job of explaining it well enough, but I will say the first hour was very kind of, I don't want to use the word confusing, but it was definitely a lot to take in. It was a little bit overwhelming at times, but by the second and third act, things that don't make as much sense in the first act do kind of unfold. You kind of understand the idea and the concept inversion situation. And handing, you know, one thing that I do applaud Christopher Nolan with all his films, he doesn't hand the information over to his audience on a silver platter. He wants you to work for it. He doesn't take his audience, he doesn't look at us as stupid people. He looks at us as well-competent people to understand the story that he's trying to tell. And there's a line in this film that's been said on Twitter many times. It's not necessarily understanding this film, it's about feeling the film. And I really felt the intention and what he was trying to say within his story. So, but I will say the first hour was a little bit overwhelming to kind of understand this concept that they were trying to give us. And I will also mention that even though I thought the performances were incredible across the board, from our lead actor to our supporting cast, there were some characters that I wish would have been fleshed out more, and particularly the protagonist, John David Washington's character, Neil's character. I would have liked to learn more about Kenneth Branagh and his involvement with a certain group of people that are communicating with him. I would have loved to have got more from that, as well as I mentioned Elizabeth Debicki and her relationship with this tangible heart and soul of this film. I wish we would have got more moments with her and her motivations, which were clearly outlined in this film, but I wish we would have gotten more from that motivation standpoint from pretty much all of our characters, but in particular Elizabeth Debicki, as well as John David Washington as a protagonist. But again, wrapping this review up, guys, this is a film that you need to see at the theaters if you are able to see it. Again, I didn't see it at theaters. I saw it at a drive-in, and if you don't have the ability to see it, definitely, you know, this is no means saying go out to the theaters right now, no matter the situation, go see it. But I will say, if you're able to see it at theater, it's worth seeing it at the theaters. It's a thrill ride. It is a straight-up spy, espionage, heist, thriller, action. Just a fun ride, entertaining ride. The direction is incredible. The cinematography, the score, the acting is phenomenal, and it is trippy. It is heady, dealing with this complex storyline, but I think Christopher Nolan does a good job of presenting the story, and it is digestible enough for me to really enjoy this film. So with that being said, I'm giving Tenet a 4.5 out of 5. Very excited to revisit this film, whether it be at a drive-in, whether it be if the film's still in the theaters come December, if I feel more comfortable during that time to see it at the theater. But I will be buying this for sure when it comes out on Blu-ray, 4K, Steelbook, whatever you want to do. I will be picking it up. But again, 4.5 out of 5 for me for the film Tenet. So that's my thoughts, guys. Really recommend it. Definitely excited to see more people see this film and to be able to talk about this film, because it is a lot to unpack. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you've seen the film, again, your positives, your negatives, your favorite, least favorite Christopher Nolan films. Let's just have some open dialogue and a fun discussion in the comments below. As always, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. Check out all my content currently on my channel, which is a ton of Fantasia Film Festival reviews. I have reviews for TV shows like Raised by Wolves, Boys Season 2. I have my recap coming up for Lovecraft Country. I have a lot of other movie reviews coming pretty soon for some early screeners, so definitely keep an eye out for those videos coming to this channel very soon. But again, thank you all for watching this review. Hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you in the next video.